probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. These people that you're talking about giving free health care to, you're already giving them free food and free water. What more do they want? And I remember sitting there thinking, like, does he realize he said that out loud? Like, and I was so upset, my hands started shaking. And so they called me up, and, I was last, I'm the freshman. And I came up and I said, I want to thank you all for having me here today. And, I'm glad to see that in our process that our priorities align together this time around for you giving me an A. I said, but the thing that I will point out to you, though, is I hear a lot in Richmond about what grade we're going to get by some of these votes we take. And the thing that I can tell you is I did not base a single decision upon what grade you were going to give me. And if I ever get to the point where that's where I base my decision, it's probably time for me to do something else, because that's not why I started this process. And I said, but here's the thing. I'm going to point out what the gentleman just said. And I said, the thing that you have to understand is I don't have a problem with the fact that he said it. I don't at all, because he has his own viewpoint. He does. But what it does point out is it shows a disconnect that we have with the people in our communities. Because he's never felt it, seen it, or gone through it himself, he has trouble wrapping his mind around how you could possibly be into a position to where you couldn't afford food, or you couldn't afford water, or you couldn't afford health care. He doesn't understand how you could be in there. But I'm a young man that was raised by a single father who owned his own home, went to work from 9 to 5 in a suit, came home and put on a janitor's outfit, and we went and cleaned an orphanage together because that's what he had to do to put food on the table. In my community, I saw this firsthand. In my nonprofit, I see these families firsthand. So for me, this is not an issue of programs. This is about the families that I know by name. These are about the faces I see. These are the same programs that allows my wife to be raised by her older sister and be addressed as Dr. Bernadine Futrell when she walks into a room. These programs. And we understand that this is bigger than us. So as we get caught up and we're talking about Medicaid expansion and all of those things, that day I realized why I was there. Because had I have not been in that room that day, the last words we would have walked out of there with was, you're already giving them free food and free water, what more than they want? And that's why I was there. So as we're talking Medicaid expansion, and it gets caught up in the Affordable Care Act and all of these things, here's what I want you to understand. When it comes to healthcare, our country has basically gone through reconstructive surgery when it comes to the idea of healthcare. We're not going to walk the same, jog the same, or run the same. It's going to take a little while before we get to what is our new normal. But this is a process, and it is here to stay. And instead of us trying to figure out ways that we can tear it down, let's pay attention and figure out what ways that we can do to assist it to make the impact that we want to see it make. That's what this is about. Anyone who comes into my office knows they get the same statement every time. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Before you walked into my office, you had a general idea of where we agree and where we disagree. You are more within your rights to yell at me and tell me why I am absolutely wrong. And I'll sit there and I'll listen. But the only thing that I ask is before you walk out, we identify 2 to 3 areas where we can agree. Because if we disagree on everything, that probably means you're trying to, and there's nothing that I can do to help you. No. So I want to work with you, and I try to make sure that is known. And that's what we're looking for doing. So these are the things that we started to see and started to fight for. But for myself, I'll talk about 3 bills that we focused on. The number 1 bill, and the biggest thing for me, was our state infrastructure fund. Now, this seems kind of odd that this would be the bill that I would choose to talk to you about right here. Now, what the state infrastructure fund did was it basically created a hedge fund which put it underneath the treasurer that focused on 2 things. 1, how much money could we bring back into the Commonwealth? And 2, how many jobs could it create? Now, the state of California currently has like $700 million set aside for a program like this. There's nothing in the country like it. So what this would allow us to do, and to use it as an example, if I wanted to bring the metro down to Woodbridge, the issue is it costs too much. I can now go out and get Bill Gates, the state of California, and Oprah Winfrey, and they can invest that $10 billion into bringing the metro to Woodbridge. So now what happens is this allows us to be in a position so it doesn't come off of our books for our localities because people are investing into us, which in turn leaves us more money for things like education and some of the other different programs that we have. So what we have to do is we have to create an opportunity and an environment so we're solution-oriented as we look to move forward into the future. we need your help. And as we sat up here and we listened to what everybody is bringing to the table, understand that this is going to be bigger than just each one of us individually. This is going to come down to how much support we can get from the people to continue to make sure that their voice is heard. Now, as I'm running for this state Senate seat to replace Senator Chuck Cogan, and I'm in a hotly contested primary race, I want you to know that, as I did here, the thing that I promise you is I will always be a man of my word to you. And I'm going to need your help as we look to move forward with this. Because this is going to be a team effort. This is not an I campaign, this is a we campaign. And I look forward to everything that we'll be able to do to work together, because we're going to see the impact that we want to see. So I look forward to what the future holds for us. I look forward to working with you as we continue down this journey together. Thank you, and you be blessed.
Thank you for being a great needed voice in Richmond. And we were taken with you when we met you first 2 years ago, and we wish you well in your campaign. And thank you for being a voice for the voiceless. Thank you. That's very powerful. I'd now like to call on Delegate Kathleen Murphy, who is the most recently elected delegate, having been elected in a very special